Good evening, gang. David Gupple, Thinker Farmer here. This is part 5 in the Farmer Self-Assessment series. If you haven't watched the first few, I'd encourage you to at least glance at them, kind of get a gist of what I'm talking about in them. This is essentially a look in the mirror for a farmer. It's long overdue finishing it, so these next few episodes I'm going to try to roll through very quickly so that we've covered the material at least. Maybe we'll come back to it at a later time. So, question number 5, pardon my cat, it's right here with me, little Gray. Question number 5 is, what do you own as a farmer? So, no, little Gray, we got a job to do here. Come on. So, what do you own as a farmer? Number 1 I put here, well, I'll read them off quickly. A farmer, and most people are going to have some degree of these, whether they realize it or not. Knowledge, skills, management and leadership, relationships, money, livestock, and then land and infrastructure. So when people think of what they own, most people are going to think of their money, they're going to think of their net worth. I would argue that the primary things every individual has are usually untangible assets. They can be used to create tangible assets, and tangible assets like money and land are very important, but your untangible assets are the thing that you can almost never lose, and they're of greater value. So the first one is knowledge and skills. Every individual is going to possess a certain degree of knowledge about farming. Maybe it's completely rudimentary. Maybe it's, if you've got several decades, you've got a lot of experience. Skills differ from knowledge in that your skills, you have to work at skills in order to acquire them. You can read a book to get knowledge. The only way you're going to get skills is by getting your fingers dirty. Management and leadership. We've talked in the last couple farmer self-assessment parts about the difference between management and leadership. But how much management do you own as a farmer right now today? How much leadership do you own? Do you own any? Are you part of a business where you're simply an employee? But the degree to which you can own management and leadership tells you a lot about your capabilities as a farmer and what you're going to be able to do. Relationships. We don't often think about relationships as an asset, but they're more fundamental than almost anything else. Relationships, whether it's with your customer base, whether it's with your coworkers, even your family relationships, all of those things are going to affect your success as a farmer. Money. A lot of farmers don't like to talk about money, but if you're deep in debt, if you don't have a lot of equity, if you're over leveraged, that does affect and if you're signing loans or making big commitments financially, that absolutely limits what you can and can't do as a farmer. It doesn't mean that it's wrong to be financially involved in things outside of farming, but you've got to realize that money is a limiting factor. It takes money to put in infrastructure and other things. Livestock. What do you own in livestock, if any? There's plenty of, I say plenty, there are definitely successful farmers out there that know how to own management and take leadership on a farm, that have knowledge and skills, that know how to leverage relationships, that are making money, and they don't own any livestock. Custom Grazer, Steve Kenyon up in Canada is an example of that. So, but do you own livestock, and what's the value of that livestock? And what's the actual, you probably may have to think about that, because usually the truth about all these things is almost anything you own, you place a high value on it. Anything that, whether it's a cow that maybe somebody else wouldn't want to own, whether it's your knowledge base, whether it's your skill base, whether it's your management skills, whether it's your relationships, most of us overinflate the value of what we have. And that's biblical. There's actually a verse in the Bible that says, the buyer says it's worth nothing, but once he gets it, he goes his way and he brags about it. And so most of us overinflate the value of what we have. Try to give an honest assessment. Maybe ask somebody else what they think about your livestock, or about, you know, your skill level if you're trying to assess yourself as a farmer. So last, certainly not least, land and infrastructure. And I probably should have put land access, because if you're leasing land, you may not own the land, but technically you control the land, and land access is worth almost as much when it comes to farming. Maybe not for the long-term end game, you know, 10, 20 years from now, but in terms of business decisions that you're going to make from year to year, if you have a 5 or 10 year lease, you control the land even if you don't own it. And infrastructure, what sort of infrastructure do you own? You know, if your whole farm is set up in barbed wire or net wire fence as opposed to high tensile fence that's really portable, and I mean, on a lease farm, if you've got a lot of permanent infrastructure, you can't really take that with you. But if you've got a lot of fiberglass posts or timeless posts, or you have you know, high tensile wire that you can put on a spinning jenny and roll up, if you've got a lot of geared reels with poly wire, a lot of your farm you can take with you. So anyway, look it over. Think about all the things you own as a farmer, whether it's your skill sets, whether it's your management, whether it's your relationships, whether it's money, and figure out what it is, what it's worth. And then that basically gives you a pretty good context for basing decisions. I'll add one caveat to that. Context is more than just the things you own. Context is going to involve a lot of your goals. It's going to involve how you relate with your family and other things even more holistically. But in assessing yourself as a farmer, you should know what these things are and how they're going to affect your success in your farming journey. And with that, blessings for the journey, gang, and keep it real.